Well, welcome one and all to another exciting edition of Transformers Reviews. Well, today, everybody, as you know, we are taking a look at none other than Nova Prime.
Ladies and gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts.
And let me say this, if you guys like the Cybertron Galaxy Upgrade Optimus, you are going to like Nova Prime. And don't get me wrong, I think that it is a solid design. However, let's go ahead and look at some of the differences on our boy. Now on the cab, it's very minimal. You can see that the grills on the trucks are actually different. And the only other thing is, where Optimus had these headlights over here, you can see that on Nova Prime, they've actually gone in and slightly remolded that. Now for the rest of the cab, it is one-to-one, no differences. The cannons, they're identical. However, the biggest difference over here is because these boys obviously have different wings. And as you can see over here, Nova Prime's wings are a little bit bigger, encasing a little bit more of the side than we had to deal with Galaxy Upgrade Optimus. However, it does help differentiate them a little bit more. Now, one thing that I do want to go ahead and bring out is that Nova Prime, he has paint in certain places, but he doesn't have as much as Optimus Prime. Now granted, this boy came out in 2018 when maybe they were able to put a lot more paint hits, but the big thing is you notice little details here and there, and like the cannons are actually painted silver, whereas on Nova Prime, there's really not a whole lot. Like I said, the wheels, the back, and the cab, they all have paint hits, but it kind of feels a little bit lesser than Optimus Prime. Now, does that just make it a tremendous point against it? Not necessarily, but I kind of feel like our boy should have been given a little bit more love. Now, the fact is, they could have used some of the budget in remolding this guy, and that's why he doesn't have as many paint hits. But I'm not sure. So while Nova Prime has never necessarily had this as an alternate mode, does it actually work for our boy? Well, the one thing you have to understand about him is that he has actually been labeled in the past as a Cybertronian supremacist / imperialist. And you can imagine that this boy having cannons on his alternate mode goes a long way towards reinforcing that sort of idea about him. Matter of fact, he has been described as...
He is brilliant, ruthless, and he will not hesitate to kill every single one of you.
And Nova Prime actually had to repel invaders that came to Cybertron causing trouble. But more than that, he was also charged with...
To preserve our culture, the colonnade of Cybertron was a covenant between all Cybertronians. The colonnade is comprised of the essential aspects of our lost Cybertronian heritage. To cyberform uninhabited worlds, to bring life to the galaxy. But something went wrong. A darkness fell over him, burrowed into him. Something corrupted him, driving him mad.
Which meant facing inhabitants that maybe necessarily didn't want the colonnade of Cybertron to come to their planet, which met with disastrous results. Now, between my friend and I, we have managed to gather every single iteration that this mold has gone through, from the Siege Ultra Magnus to the modern Nova Prime. And as you can see here, with 7 different iterations, they have milked that mold to absolute oblivion. That is not surprising, but it is just kind of funny to see it all in one spot. Now, some of you may recognize this boy on the right, because many years ago we did this Primo X Mortis version of Nova Prime, and don't get me wrong, to a degree I still love it because I love obviously huge giant wings, and I actually wanted to do like we did with Siege Astro Train and have like the brawl between these two versions of Nova Prime.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the Machinoid Mangle?
Tonight in this corner we have the current reigning champion of the collection, Primo X Mortis! And in the opposing corner, we have his challenger, the newcomer, Legacy Evolution, Nova Prime! Who will be crowned king of the Cosmic Primes? Find out tonight on Transformers Reviews.
But considering that we've already looked at this boy, and I wanted to give the official Hasbro version of Nova Prime a little bit of a chance, that's why I decided not to do it. So here is Nova in his base robot mode. And I gotta say, for somebody that is not a Ultra Magnus repaint of Optimus Prime, it definitely works. Now, one thing that has always been like a design aspect of Nova Prime is how he's got these white fingerless gloves, look, with his gold fingers peeking through. That's one little design aspect that I like. I know it's a weird thing. But basically, when you look at this in comparison to Magnus, I mean, basically from the waist down, they are identical, much like it is with Optimus Prime. Now, the one thing about this is with Magnus and Nova Prime over here is that they, on their reverse side of their belt buckles, they actually rock this in their bigger robot modes, whereas it's reversed for Optimus. He has the smaller yellow stripes in this mode, and then whenever he goes to super mode, he gets the bigger stripes like that. So I did find that kind of interesting, that there's a lot of similarities between these two iterations that make this boy what he is. However, you can imagine though that if Nova Prime showed up on modern day Cybertron, he might end up having a disagreement with both Optimus and Magnus, because his entire philosophy, as we already saw, goes completely contrary to what Optimus and Magnus stand for.
Cybertron has grown weak in my absence, as have the line of primes. You have failed this planet, Optimus, and for your failure, you shall pay the ultimate price, and I shall reclaim the Matrix, leading Cybertron, ensuring its place as the center of the cosmos.
The Transformers will return after these messages.
So once again, here you can see all the different iterations of the base robot mode that Hasbro has just cranked out. And it's funny because looking at all these like blues and these reds, and especially the majority of the white ones here, I feel like you could just probably like slot in Nacelle in here and he would totally fit in with these boys. However, I think that no matter what color you stick this mold in, we can see that like Delta Magnus rocks it in blue, the Optimuses rock it in red, the Magnuses and Nova rock it in white. So it just proves what a solid design the base robot mode is, despite it maybe having some chunky proportions, which, you know, we won't hold against it. So here's our main man all armored up and looking more like his traditional self instead of a white Optimus Prime. Now, with the cannons on his back, do I think it works for him? I believe so, because as we see with Cybertron Optimus, he's rocking the same thing. The only thing that really bugs me in this mode is, I mean, it's just Hasbro saving on material, and you know, the cannons on both these guys are obviously hollow. So I've seen like third-party upgrade kits that fill that in, which, I don't know, I might have to look into that now. But for the most part, I think it works. Now, obviously, these weapons that we've been seeing him with do not come with this guy, but he looks sick with them, so why would I not put them in his hands, obviously. Plus, we had that one iteration of Nova Prime that was an exclusive years ago that he was rocking an axe, so I was like, you know what, I think it works for this dude. So besides being a reuse of the Cybertron Optimus mold, let's look at some of the things that are different. Now, for Optimus, the shoulders, you know, he had to have these truck cab-esque shoulders. Well, on Nova, you can see that they're more squared off and they don't look like they're a piece of his alt mode, which, you know what, I think that works. It's very clean. Plus, also the chest, not having to be the truck cab like that boy, you can see that it is very faithful to the design, again, from Transformers Devastation. Plus, that head is awesome. The little touch of silver there on the head crest, the blue eyes. I mean, just the resculpted head on this is amazing. And pretty much from there on out, that's really pretty much all that's different on this guy. That is barring one major design aspect about this boy. And don't worry, we will address what's wrong with these wings, but we're going to look at some comparisons first, alright?
now return to the Transformers.
So if we were to take a page from Legacy's playbook and assume that all of these Optimi and Ultra Magni were from different universes converging to help battle Nova Prime, I think that would be a legitimate reason to have all these guys here. Plus the fact that Nova Prime, depending on certain iterations, the dude draws power from certain sources that make him stupidly powerful. I mean, it is just insane. So it would probably take each and every one of these guys to put up a decent fight against Nova Prime. However, what about that guy in red, black, and blue at the very back? You know, he could be masquerading as Delta Magnus, but in reality, we know it's the Shattered Glass Mag, who, a power-hungry nut like that, might look and see, well, what if I could curry favor with Nova Prime? Perhaps I could use him to my own ends. So, in that line of thought, he ends up shooting two of his fellow Magnuses in the back, which draws the attention of both Optimuses and the other Magnus on the field. And while this amuses Nova Prime, he makes sure to take advantage of this distraction, taking out his three remaining foes before slamming Shattered Glass Mag into the wall, making sure that he gets the point that Nova is not fooled by his actions.
Do you take me for a fool, Magnus? Did you really think that in all my travels I would not become aware of your twisted reality? You and your version of Cybertron are like a virus that I will not stop until every last shred of your perverse reality has been eradicated.
And although Nova wields great power, he is not impervious to a mortal wound, which, as you can see here, Tenseg manages to deliver a near fatal blow. And, you know, because he's not movie Optimus, he's not trying to kill people outright. However, before having a word with Nova Prime, Tenseg does knock out Shattered Glass Mag to make sure that he causes no further destruction today. And now with the modern Prime talking to the previous one, we hear Nova explain.
Optimus, all I ever wanted was the survival of our race.
Stand down and be spared. Today you answer for your crimes against Cybertron and against humanity.
However, if you did want to see all these boys together in a more standard setup instead of an action scene, here you can see all 6 of the boys. And again, not all of these are mine, some of these are my friends, but I did just want you guys to finally see what all of them together in their biggest, baddest mode looked like. And we can't do that for Tenseg Optimus because he doesn't have anything like that, but it is cool because you can mix and match these pieces to kind of make a custom armor for him if you did want to do so. So here we are, everybody, finally reaching the near end of our video, but before we go, I did promise to address the wings. However, in order to do that, we have to judge this boy against this guy right here. And yeah, I'm just gonna say this, that I know Hasbro's working within their price point budget thingy, but he pales in comparison to this guy, which amuses me because this is the Combiner Wars version of Optimus with third-party upgrade kits. However, that being said, while I do believe that Nova himself should have big, grandiose wings, especially if they were modeling this again on the Devastation Nova Prime, there is potential there. However, if we just look at Nova in isolation by himself as perhaps maybe a iteration all on its own, is it a bad figure? No. Like I said, if you enjoyed the Galaxy Upgrade Optimus, you're gonna enjoy Nova as well. And I mean, the cannons on the back and everything that are a carryover from where this thing came from, like I said, if this is its own iteration, independent of all other ones that have come before it, it's not bad. It's not just amazing, but I think it's a good figure. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that big long review of Nova Prime. And until next time, guys, we'll see you in another review.